Hi everyone, and welcome to a wrap-up for a readathon that took place April through June. This one is called Slayerfest, so everything was based on, I believe it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yes, it says Buffy right in there. I remember when Buffy was originally coming out, and I don't know, it's like I didn't get all that invested in it. I don't remember. I want to say this is one of the shows I was told I shouldn't watch. I don't remember. Anyway, but I was invited on Goodreads to participate in this. So the creator is, crap, I'm blanking on her name, but the channel is Rescues and Reads. So I'll definitely have the channel in the description box. Anyway, so I am friends with her on Goodreads, or I follow her on Goodreads, and she invited me to partake in this readathon, which I decided that I was going to do so. There are several prompts, so I will not be getting into what these books are all about. I will tell you if it was a library book, if I've unhauled it, if it was a Kindle book, and I'll give you the star rating. And that's pretty much about it. But I'll list the books in the description box, so if you do want more information, feel free to check it out in whatever format you want to do so. I highly recommend checking out the channel Rescues and Reads. I think that it's a really fun channel to watch. She has a TBR game based on the game of Sorry, and that was like one of my favorite games growing up. Sorry, Life, and Clue were my three favorite board games. They still are my three favorite board games. I just haven't played Sorry in I don't know how long. So, computer, stop. So let's go ahead and get into this, and again I'll tell you what the prompt is and what book I used to fulfill it, if I did fulfill it. I fulfilled most of the prompts. There are a few I was not able to. Okay, underneath Slayerfest I have prompt number 1 is Buffy the Hero. This is to read a book that has a badass female protagonist. For this one, I went with Afrotistic. I gave it 5 stars, written by Kayla Allen Omeiza. I think learning to stand up for yourself would definitely qualify for that, and learning more about how to cope with certain situations and things like that. So I would definitely qualify the main character as that. Prompt number 2, Willow the Wicca, a witchy book. I did not get to a witchy book. I would have loved to, but I just did not. Prompt number 3 is Xander. Oh, and this was on Goodreads, but she did mention there wasn't enough interaction on Goodreads, so which is completely understandable. So in the future, she'll look at different, ways for people to get together or something like that. So I don't think it'll be on Goodreads again, so we'll just have to keep an eye out for an announcement video and stuff like that. Okay, prompt number 3, Xander, the Loyal Sidekick. This is a go-to author or reread a favorite book. Go-to author for me, I love John Gwynne's writing. So I read A Time of Dread, 5 stars, thoroughly loved this book. Okay, prompt number 4 is Cordelia, the Mean Girl. So this is a book that is a cover by or has a beautiful cover. I read The Duke Undone by Joanna, Lowell, and I'll insert images of these books here. This was a library book, but I loved it so much. I have since purchased my own copy of this, and it's part of a series. Right now there's only 2 books out. I did get the second book because I do want to continue on with this, even though they follow different characters. So it's like they take place in the same world, but just different characters. Number 5 is Giles, the Mentor. This is to read a nonfiction or historical fiction or something to learn from. So something like that. So I read a nonfiction, and it was a graphic novel, Big Mushy Happy Lump by Sarah Andersen. This is part of, I gave it 4 stars. It's part of the Sarah Scribbles collections. It's just making light of certain life situations. So how at sometimes what it's like for women who don't shave their legs versus shaves their legs. being in a relationship and wanting to cuddle in the summer versus the winter. Things like that. And just poking fun at life's situations and making light of certain things. Prompt number 6 is Oz, the Werewolf. This is a book that has transfiguration, shape-shifting, or mythological creature. The one I went with has a mythological creature of dragon, and I read Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. I gave that one 5 stars. Prompt number 7 is Spike, the Bad Boy. This is a book with a hate-to-love trope, and I did not get to that one. Prompt number 8 is Angel, the Redeemed. This is a book with a brooding or tortured soul trope. For this one, I went with Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I think you could classify either Dr. Frankenstein or the creature, either one, as a tortured soul or brooding type character. I gave it 3 stars. Prompt number 9 is Anya, the Betrayed. This is a book with a vengeance plot or female rage. The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark definitely fit that prompt. And I gave that one 3 stars. And I'm not going to say more into that one because it is a thriller and massive spoilers if I tell you which one of those it goes with. Number 10 is Faith, the Bad Girl. So this is to read a dark or taboo book. For this one I read Final Grade by R.L. Stine. I gave it 3 stars. I would just consider this a dark book. It deals with murder. And that's a dark topic, especially for a young adult. So, okay, prompt number 11 is Kendra, the Other Chosen One. This is a POC, so person of color, main character, or author. For this one, I read Beaten Black and Blue. This is a nonfiction book about being a police officer in America. Not only being a police officer, but being a black police officer. So, written by Brandon Tatum. I gave that one 5 stars. It was really interesting, and I like that he put not only his own personal experiences, but also interviewed other people that were police officers and put their experiences in the book. Very short book, but it was enjoyable. Prompt number 12 is Dawn, the Key. This is a book with a sibling relationship. I went with The Wrong Number by R.L. Stine. Gave that one 3 stars. You have a brother, a stepbrother, and a stepsister. So, step-siblings, but they're still siblings. Prompt number 13 is Tara, the Lost Lover. This is to read a book with LGBTQIA plus character. I read Giant Days Volume 1 by John Allison. I gave that 4 stars. Have enjoyed it enough. I do have the second one on deck in my room to read at some point, and I look forward to continuing that. Number 14 is Joyce, the Mom, Strong Mother Characters. So for this one, I read Flight 171 by Amy Christine Parker. Where's my pen? I'm just making a note for myself. I have unhauled this book. It was fine. I gave it 3 stars. I felt like it could have gone darker. It just kind of towed the line, but it is a young adult, so I can see why it didn't go darker, but it just didn't. I think there was a lot of potential. I think it would have been better had it have gone a lot darker, but it does have a strong mother character in it. So, number 15 is Robo Buffy, The Replacement. This is to read a science fiction book. I read Long Distance, which is a middle grade graphic novel compiled or written by Whitney Gardner. I gave it 3 stars. There's another one by her. I can't even remember the name of this other one, but it's about this kid that pretends to be a vampire. I liked that one more than Long Distance. Long Distance was still cute. Still enjoyed it. Still will reread it in the future, but not my favorite out of the 2 of Whitney Gardner's that I have read. I've only read 2 of Whitney Gardner's, but still I enjoyed it. 3 stars. Prompt number 16 is Clem, the Cinnamon Roll. This is to read a book that has an animal main character or a focus on animals. This one I went with Housecat Trouble number 2 by Mason Dickerson. I gave this 5 stars. It's a middle grade graphic novel, and the main character is a cat, and you're following this cat as he tries to help this lost cat find their home. Very sweet book. And yeah, I mean, human beings are in it, but they are definitely more of a side character type of a thing. Very minor character. Prompt number 17 is Wesley. This is to read a young adult novel. I read Switched by R.L. Stine, 5 stars. Love this book. I have reread this particular book multiple times. Is my favorite, if not one of my favorite, original Fear Street books by R.L. Stine. Prompt number 18 is Riley, The Rebound. So this is a book that is not high with expectations or the lowest rated on your TBR. I read a book that I didn't have the highest expectations on it. I read The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy it. However, I read it at a time where I was just physically so drained and tired. I did fall asleep while reading it, but that was a me problem, not the book problem. So I will definitely reread this in the future. When I was alert and taking in what I read, I really enjoyed it. The 3 stars is just because some of it I did get a little bored with, but is that because I was really bored or because I was just so tired? I mean, and I was tired because I fell asleep. So, but I think it's mostly a me problem, but there is potential with that book. Okay. Moving on, prompt number 19 is Robin, the Freelancer. This is to read a paranormal romance or a fantasy romance. For this one, I went with Dreamfever by Karen Marie Moning. I gave it 3 stars, and I believe this was it's either book 3 or 4 in the Dreamfever series. So, and this was a library book. I did not own my own copy, so that's since been returned to the library, and I will be continuing on with the series. Prompt number 20 is Jenny, The Tragic Loss. This is to read a book with the prominent themes of grief. This one I read Hey Kiddo by Jarrett J. Krosoczka. I have unhauled this. This was my mom's. It's a graphic novel. It's an adult graphic novel, and it's like a graphic novel biography or a memoir. A lot of grief, absent parent, drug-addicted parent, parents not following through on things. Yeah, so I did not rate it. I didn't really feel comfortable rating it. I didn't really know what to rate it. And I actually ended up skimming the last little bit. It just was not the type of thing. I think this would have done much better in a standard novel format rather than a graphic novel format. So, yeah. Okay. All right, so those are the character prompts. Now we're on the big bad prompts, which I think are the bad characters or the evil villains. So, number 1 is Vampire, the Basic Bitch. A short, quick read. This one I read Haunted by R.L. Stine. I gave it 4 stars. The Fear Street books by R.L. Stine tend to be novellas, or they are novellas because they're around 150 pages. Right around there, sometimes less, sometimes just a little bit more. I think the longest I've seen is either 175 or like 167, right around there, but definitely novella length. Number 2 is Kathy Newman, The Roommate from Hell. This is to read a book outside your comfort zone. Nonfiction is out of my comfort zone, so I read Decoding Your Cat by the American College of Veterinary Behaviorists. Very fascinating book, very informative. I learned quite a bit. I ended up giving it 5 stars because it was an enjoyable read. I thought it was very well written. It was manageable. I didn't feel like it was a textbook. It felt more conversational type thing, and I learned quite a bit from it. So, number 3 is Veruca, the Homewrecker. This is to read a second chance romance, and I read A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria. Gave it 4 stars. It is a library book, so I do not own a copy. It was a good time. Did get very spicy. Number 4 is Sweet, the Broadway Baddie. This is to read a book in prose or where music is the focal point, and I did not get to this book. Number 5 is Zach Kralik, The Serial Killer. This is to read a true crime, a mystery, a thriller with a serial killer. And that's the one I read, is a horror thriller, but it is a serial killer. They're trying to hunt down the serial killer. I read Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. It's book number 1 in the Red Dragon series. This is the series that created Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal Lecter. It was okay. I gave it 3 stars. I'm on the fence of unhauling this one. I do have the whole series, so I'm going to read the next book in the series to see if I like it. and that will determine if I unhaul the first couple books or not. So I'm still kind of on the fence. I still have the book until I know if I'm going to like the series later on as it goes on. Number 6 is Der Kinderstad, Child Death, featuring children or a middle grade. I read, this is definitely featuring middle grade. It is a manga. I read Children of the Whales Volume 1 by Omeiza. I gave it 3 stars, and I have to say, I did read the second volume later on, and I found the second volume much more enjoyable than the first volume. But children are a very prominent feature in this series. Prompt number 7 is Maggie Walsh, The Evil Bitch, Monster of Death. This is to read a morally gray book or with a villain's POV or point of view, and I did not get to this prompt. Number 8 is The Judge, The Human Exterminator. This is to read a dystopian or an apocalyptic book. I read Generation Manifestation. I ended up giving that one 3 stars, written by Stephen Berenze. Don't know how to say that. Ebook, I read it and is intrigued enough. I could see the potential on that. Gen M is the name of the series, and I will be continuing on with that series. So Generation Manifestation is the first one. Think of people when your body's under a certain amount of stress, you what's called do like an amplify, which means you have special powers. So you kind of become like an X-Man. So you can fly, present a shield, this clear shield, become invisible, a bunch of stuff. Okay, moving on. Number 9 is The Trio, The Wannabes. This is a book with a found family or a strong friendship. I read Dream & Son Volume 1 by Ichiko Takano. Gave it 3 stars. Definitely a found family type situation. And definitely has some friendships that are becoming strong in it. And this is a manga. Number 10 is Mr. Trick, The Henchman. This is a book that you are considering unhauling. And I have since unhauled this book. I've read Severance by Ling Ma. I got my copy from Book of the Month. It was enjoyable. If I reread this, it will be via audiobook only. So I'm not opposed to rereading it. My problem with it is the format. There are no quotation marks, and that is one of my biggest pet peeves with books. I personally need the quotation marks so I know when someone is speaking or when they're going into their own train of thought or having a conversation inside their own head and stuff like that. I need the quotation marks, and the fact that there were no quotation marks in this really bugged me. So I'm unhauling my copy. Again, I'm not opposed to rereading it in the future, but it will be via audiobook. Prompt number 11 is The Gentleman, The Voiceless, to read an audiobook. I listened to the audiobook and I read along physically. I tend to do that. But the audiobook was done really well, and this was for The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I ended up giving this 5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Definitely want to check out more books written by Matt Haig. Number 12 is Adam, the Frankenstein. This is to read a horror. I read The Specimen. This was a library book. Give this 3 stars, and this was written by Pete Kale. It did say at the beginning that to be continued, or not at the beginning, at the end of the book it said to be continued, but I haven't seen anything as far as if there's a sequel or anything like that. So, and earlier on it's like this is a standalone, but then it says to be continued, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but that's a straight up horror. It was interesting. Prompt number 13 is The Master, the Vampire King. This is to read that has a royal name, title, or featuring royalty. For this one, I am counting The Black Butler, Volume 1 by Yana Toboso. I gave this one 5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed this. Like, I knew halfway that I wanted the next book, and we'll continue this. It does have royalty in it. I don't remember the exact titles, and one of them is like the prince of this major toy company or something, but he is like a lord at the same time and stuff. So royalty in that one. And that was a very good manga. Loved that one. Prompt number 14 is Darla, the Sire. This is to read the first book in the series. I read Stargirl. It can be read as a standalone, but there is a companion novel to that one called, I don't even remember, but I did not rate it. It was okay, but I'm wondering if I will like the book from the perspective of Stargirl herself. This was written by Jerry Spinelli, but I don't have high hopes for the second book. Prompt number 15 is Drusilla the Insane. This is to read a book with red and black on the cover. I read the red parts, written by Maggie Nelson. This has been unhauled. This is a nonfiction autobiography about the murder of an aunt, and they're going to trial. So it's just all about finding more out about her aunt. This person wrote a book about her aunt, and now they're at trial. The murderer is at trial, and they're attending that. Prompt number 16 is The Mayor, the Snake, Something That Scares You. I read Shiver by Junjun Ito, 4 stars. Junjun Ito is like the king of horror manga. Absolutely love Junjun Ito's work. And where it's a horror, it has the potential to scare you. So, number 17 is Glory, the God, 5-star prediction. I read Herding Cats. This is the 4th book, I want to say, maybe the 3rd. Anyway, by Sarah Andersen. Gave it 5 stars. Part of the Sarah Scribbles collection. Absolutely loved that book. Again, it's a graphic novel. Number 18 is Caleb, the Disgraced Preacher. This is to read a book with a cult or cultish plot. I did not get to that one. Number 19 is The First Evil. This is the oldest book on your TBR. I went with Frenchman's Creek by Daphne du Maurier, which is a book. This is the author that wrote Rebecca. I gave Frenchman's Creek 4 stars, and in my opinion, I think Frenchman's Creek is better than Rebecca. Okay? I really enjoyed it. And then prompt number 20, this is the last one. This is The Hellmouth. This is the largest book on your TBR, and I did not get to that one. So I did complete most of the prompts. Some I did not. So I will put the creator's YouTube channel in the description box. Highly recommend checking it out. She has an awesome channel. And yeah, so that's it. Let me know if you participated in Slayerfest. And between the months of April and June, which is when this took place, tell me what your favorite book was or your most disappointing book. Talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I'll talk to you later.